Okay, y'all. So, summer of 2024. My dad is not doing well. He's had a few falls. He has broken a vertebrae in his back. Took me weeks to get the hospital to deal with that. They wouldn't even do an x-ray when I took him in. They just wanted to send him home. I was like, I can't lift him. He needs to go to the nursing home. But y'all need to find out what's wrong with him. They didn't do an x-ray until he went to the nursing home. His doctor ordered it, and yep, sure enough, he had a broken vertebrae. So anyway, he was in there for a while. It was costing us $1,500, $7,000 a month to keep him there, which is expensive. 2 months we used up all of Dad's money. And during that time, we are having to make many trips to the big city, which is 3.5 hours away, to see neurologists, psychologists, anesthesia teams, surgical team. He had tests after test after test. They wanted to know exactly where he was with everything before they did this brain surgery that was coming up in January. So, I'm busy. I'm very, very busy. My hands are very full. So anytime I went to Kansas City, I always had to ask my brother, somebody to step up and help. And finally, I just didn't see any sense in spending $7,000 a month to keep him in a nursing home for rehab when they were doing absolutely nothing with him. He was basically taking care of himself. They put him in a room without a working TV. My brother had to go buy a TV and hook it up for him. I mean, this was just a complete nightmare. Their summer diet was hot dogs, Polish sausages, things that these people couldn't even eat most of the time. It was terrible. So we ended up bringing him home and getting him on hospice care. And shortly after, it didn't take very long, he just wasn't well. He wouldn't drink, he wouldn't eat. His kidneys were shutting down. He just didn't do very well. And in December, he passed away. So then I had the funeral. I had everything to take care of. Kept me busy. My husband, incredibly supportive, nervous about his surgery, but knew where my focus needed to be. After my dad passed, we then just had to suddenly, everything had to turn to Bill's brain surgery, which is a deep brain stimulator surgery for essential tremor or Parkinson's if you have Parkinson's. Bill had genetic essential tremors. And they go in and they cut a hole in your head right here. And then they had to cut another big incision here. And they put a lead in. It's a 4-hour surgery. They wake you up in it to place the lead so they can test. They have him write. They have him hold things to see where his tremor is most controlled, where they place that lead. And then they have to tunnel all the wires down into the battery in the brain for the deep brain stimulator, which is inside his chest. It's an overnight surgery, y'all. They have perfected this. You go in and you come out. That's how it normally goes. Unfortunately for us, didn't go that way. Surgery was a success. They got us moved into a room, and he was hungry. They gave him some Jell-O. He was eating Jell-O. Our baby girl, she was like, I am so amazed. My daddy's eating Jell-O and not tossing it all over the room. He wanted a chicken fried steak. They got him a chicken fried steak. He was doing fine. And then he wanted to get up and go to the bathroom. We got him up to go to the bathroom, and he started sweating. Just sweating, pouring down sweat. And then he started coughing and coughing and coughing. And he wasn't right. And then he started coughing up foamy stuff. Pink, red, foamy stuff. Just constantly. Sitting in a chair, sweating to death, coughing all this crap up. We had a nurse who was the first time on this floor. She normally worked in new babies. She's never worked this floor before. And my daughter is married to a paramedic. And my niece, her cousin, is a nurse. And my daughter was sending them texts. This is happening. This is happening. We don't know what's happening. He's not feeling right. He's not feeling good. And they said, look, he's got a problem. You need to get other eyes on him. You need to go grab that nurse. Of course, it was shift change. Shift change, you get nobody. You can find nobody. You can't get any help. It was probably an hour before we finally found that nurse again and said, he's got a problem. And she came in and she said, I need to go make a phone call. She didn't know what to do with it. She made a phone call. All of a sudden, 4 or 5 people come in the room with machines, and they're all over him, and they're like throwing him on a different gurney. Here we go, down the hall. And we go, I don't even know where we go. We go somewhere. Emergency, ICU, something. I don't even know where we went. But we go in this room, and of course, this is on a Friday, y'all. So we've got the residents. And this resident walked in this sweatshirt and Birkenstocks and sweatpants, and very quiet, very introverted. And my daughter and I are in a panic. We have no idea what's happening. And my husband is like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go to the bathroom. They finally gave him, they wouldn't let him out of the bed. They gave him a bedpan. He couldn't use it. They were giving him some kind of a tube that he could spit into that they were collecting. They were collecting it, and they were monitoring how much was coming out. And the resident, when he walked in the room, he went first time or second time, it was pretty quick. He walked in and he said, well, Mr. McPherson, what do you think about putting you on a ventilator? I panicked. This is after COVID, y'all. And I had a friend, a neighbor and a friend, who went in the hospital, got put on a ventilator, couldn't see her family, ended up passing away. I was like, your wife has a few questions about that. He was just like, okay, whatever you need to do. And I said, no, I need more information. This happened during COVID. I don't want my husband being taken out, shoved in a room somewhere, and then dying on a ventilator. I said, that's not happening. And he just looked at me like I had 10 eyes. And he turned around and started talking to the nurse, and had somebody else come in and do some tests. And all of a sudden, we were there the whole night, y'all. People in and out of the room. Another resident come in, and this guy was pretty nerdy, and he was pretty excited about everything. They had never had this happen following a brain surgery. So it was all new. Everything was new. Everything was a little exciting for this one. And he was just talking about this and this and this. And, we've never had this before. And this is, we're going to be writing papers on this guy. And I was like, okay, somebody ought to be telling us what's going on. They finally got him stable, a little bit calmed down. They told us they were going to let us rest. They let us stay in the room. They let us rest for, I don't know, maybe an hour or so. They had people in and out of the room. Somebody was in the room constantly, but in and out of the room all night long. And I'm calling the other kids and trying to tell them what's happening, but we don't even know what's happening. And then, I don't know, about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, they came in and they said, we've got to get him on a ventilator. And this is why. Pressures, he's got fluid building. We've got to get that pressure down. He's having heart problems. This is something we have to do. He finally sat down and sat in front of me and explained to me what was happening, why the ventilator was necessary, and that they had to get it done now. And by this time, my husband was not really thinking clear. He was not there. He was being very combative, very argumentative. He wanted to get up. He wanted to go to the bathroom. They wouldn't let him out of the bed. And the doctor finally told me, he said, you've got to go tell him he cannot leave this bed, that we have to get him on this mask. We have to get him on a ventilator. Just tell him he's got to do it. And I went up to him, and he was just, you could just tell he was not with it. And he was just insisting he was getting up out of that bed. And I told him, I said, honey, I love you very much. These people are trying to help you. You cannot get out of this bed. Well, by God, I'm going to. And I said, no, you are not. You can't. You have to let them do what they're going to do. They've got to get you on a ventilator. I love you. Just hang on. We got to get this done. And by that time, I saw he was sitting up on the bed. Somebody grabbed his feet, flipped him around, put his feet on the bed. Somebody put a mask over his face, laid him back, and they got us out of the room so they could get the ventilator in him. I didn't know it. He was having a widowmaker heart attack, y'all. A widowmaker. We didn't know. We didn't know until the next morning after they took him to surgery. And that was the lowest low I've ever had in my life. And I will go into that on the next video. As a caregiver, I got to tell you, and a wife and a spouse, and going through all of this, it was so frustrating for me that resident did not immediately sit me down when I said, wait a minute, I need more information. I didn't like this when this happened to my friend. He should have sat me down and explained what was happening, and we could have had Bill on a ventilator much earlier. I don't know if the outcome would have been better or worse. But I hope he learned something from that. And I turned to my daughter and I said, look, am I overreacting? If I am overreacting, you need to tell me. And you need to step up here and have me sit down and you handle this rationally. Because if I'm overreacting, I don't want to cause my husband a problem. You know, I don't want to hurt your daddy. Come help me. And she's young and she is in a panic and she doesn't know what to say and what to do. And we are both just floundering, both in tears, both trying to figure it out. The other kids are confused and not understanding because this was supposed to be an easy overnight surgery. And is this the brain? What is happening? We really did not know until the next morning after he went into surgery again. So that is where we are now. And now it is January 25th, 2025. January 25th, 2025, a date I will always remember for the rest of my life. Talk more about that day in the next one.